Okay, so I guess we are live. Let me just make sure. Um, Give me 5 seconds. All right, we are live. Hey guys, what's up? Can you hear me? Just say yes if you can. So we'll begin with the session right away. If you can hear me, just type in yes or yeah, whatever. Am I audible? Okay, cool, awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's begin. Welcome to the session, guys. And Khushbu couldn't be with us because her mic or something's not working, but she's in the chat. So if you need any help, just reach out. Okay. But all right, let's begin. So we're going to talk about open source, path to open source. Here's a rough picture of what things we will cover. Okay. So first we'll see what is open source. Then we'll talk about difference between closed, free, and open software or open source basically. Then we'll see how does it work, and then we'll talk about why you should contribute and why some people don't really fancy contributing to open source. We'll talk about that as well. And then we'll see how you can begin, how you can dive into this world of open source. And then we'll see a few open source programs. I'll share my GSoC experience with you, and then I'll give you some tips to keep in mind to have a good experience in the open source world. And then we'll have Q&A in the end. So I hope that sounds good. Okay, let's begin with okay, first I'll introduce myself. That's me, and that's my sweet little son. Okay, about me, I'm Abhishek Sansanwal, founder and CEO of Verved, which is a tech firm, and I'm a TEDx speaker. I won the top 50 tech leaders award at InterCon Dubai last year, and I'm the recipient of Young Entrepreneur Excellence Award, and I'm one of the 6 Google Venkat scholars of the last edition, that is 1920 cohort. And I worked with the Mahin Google Summer of Code 2019, and I invested in early stage companies. So the last company that I invested in was GeoShip, which is basically a startup where they're building futuristic homes and environment friendly domes, stuff like that. That's pretty cool. And I have a YouTube channel where we have zero point 0.005 million plus subscribers. I guess we're around 0.006 now. So yeah, thank you so much for subscribing. And if you haven't, please subscribe. And I love the world of e-commerce. I do a thing or two in e-commerce as well. Okay, so that's about me. Now, without wasting any time, let's start with open source. What is open source? So here's a definition that I copied, I guess, from Wikipedia maybe, but this is what open source is. Open source refers to a computer program in which the source code is available to the general public for use for any purpose, which could be commercial as well, or for modification from its original design. And open source code is meant to be a collaborative effort. So different developers from around the world, different developers from around the world collaborate and work on a project, improve the code, and that's how open source works. Okay, I hope you understand. Now, there's this line: open source refers to a computer program. Actually, it's not the computer program itself. Open source is this whole process, the computer program, people collaborating, working, the source code is available to the public. So all of this whole kind of the movement is known as open source. All right, next. Okay, this is really important. I want to talk about some differences between open source, free and open, and closed, because these are not really actually relevant, but a lot of people get confused between what these things are. Okay, so for open source, just keep this line in mind: the code is open, do whatever you want to do with it. Okay, but within the limits of the license. So whatever you're doing with the code, you have to do it within the limits of the license. And then free source. Free source is basically a philosophy that implies a set of freedoms for the user. Okay. Now, freedom can be the freedom to change the code. Okay. The freedom to, let's say, add new features or something like that. And this is a topic of debate, open source and free. And we don't want to dive too much deep into it because you'll get really, really confused. So just keep in mind whatever I'm telling you. Okay, it's not too relevant, but just for you to see it once and then put it aside. Okay, next is free and open. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to read the comments. Yeah, yes. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Okay, let's keep going. Free and open. Free and open is basically openly shared source code that is licensed, but there is no restriction on its usage, modification, or distribution. So it's kind of like you can say the combination of open and free. All right. And then closed is it's pretty easy, pretty obvious. It's the opposite of open. So the code is not publicly available, and generally that would be a proprietary software. I hope that's clear. Okay, the very basic stuff, very basic, nothing too complicated. Let's move on to the next slide. So how does it work, this open source world? How does it work? So it starts with one developer, or you can say one company, one organization that that basically starts a project. Okay, and then the source code of that program is publicly available. So then more and more people, users, coders, programmers, they can work on the project, they can modify the source code, they can suggest changes, they can solve bugs, fix issues, and this cycle continues. Okay, and it keeps on happening. So this is how open source works, and the end product is basically a better source code. Basically, okay, everyone is contributing, giving their best, solving issues, solving bugs. So it kind of keeps on going. So this is how open source works. Okay, starts from one person, one organization, and people from around the world can work on it if they wish to. That's it. Okay, next. Okay, next is why contribute. Now, you might be thinking, okay, open source is an amazing thing. We can work on publicly available source codes of projects, but why do we contribute? So the first point is to develop and test your skills. So you see, open source projects are not always too easy, because if they were easy, they wouldn't be an open source project where a lot of people from around the world are working. So always open source projects can really help you test your skills and also develop your skills, because they might have a lot of things that you haven't had worked before. Okay, and next point is to stay in loop with what's new. So as the project is open source, as more and more new frameworks and technologies come into force, people want to include and inculcate those technologies, right? They want to stay relevant in the market. So that's why you're always up to date with what's going on, what's new around the world. That's the second point. And the third point is to further your career. Now, some people might not agree with me, but from my experience, if you've been contributing to open source, this is a really positive thing in your interviews, and whenever you're applying for jobs or internships, because you're doing it just for free, right? Open source, most of the times open source is not about the money. Okay, it's just about contributing to a cause and being a part of some community. That's open source. So that's why it really helps you to further your career. And next is to give back. You've used Stack Overflow, GitHub, and so many platforms while learning your skills and working on your projects. So why not give back and work on some open source project, right? And the next point is to become a part of a community. Now, as human beings, we always want to feel like we belong to some place, right? So if you're part of a community, that really motivates you and keeps your motivation high, and you always have the confidence to try new things, to test new features, to fix new issues and bugs and help each other out. Okay, so that's the second last point. And the last point is to have fun. It's really fun contributing to open source. You meet new people, you get to work on cool stuff. So why not do it? Okay, let's talk about why not do it, or actually why some people don't really want to work on open source projects. Let's talk about that. So the first point is there's no financial incentive. I'm not talking about GSoC and those open source programs, but generally there is no financial incentive in open source. So that's why people don't want to work in it, right? People always want something where they can have some financial gain. And then the second point is it could seem a little messy, the source code, because you see open source projects are publicly available. So that means anyone can work on them, anyone from any place in the world. So a lot of times some people that are not qualified, are not qualified enough to work on such a project, or sometimes even because everyone has different style of coding. So, right, it gets a little messy when all of this comes together, all the modules integrate together. And so you might be like, what the heck is going on? So that is also one of the reasons why some people don't really fancy open source. And then the last point is because people don't see why. People don't know why they should contribute to open source, but you do. Okay, these are the points why you should contribute. So I hope you'll keep them in mind. And there's this book by Simon, Start with Why. So these are your whys. Keep them in mind when you're working in the open source world. Because a lot of times you'll lose motivation. You'll be like, how do I sustain the motivation, the ability to just keep contributing? You just have to keep these why in your mind. All right, I hope that makes sense. Okay, next is, how do you begin? Wait, what time is it? 10 minutes and you already covered like 60% of the presentation. That is cool. Um, and guys, feel free to ask any questions. Now in the registration form, we got a lot of questions. We'll try to answer most of them. But if you do have any questions, we'll keep Q&A at the end. So please note them down and ask them all together towards the end of the session. Okay, so how do you begin? The first step before anything, you have to find an organization. Okay. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do I find an organization? Abhishek, I don't know which organization is right for me. Now, the thing is, it's only one Google search away. It's not anything too complicated. Okay. So it's Google search the open source organizations that have projects in your field of work. It's actually that simple. Just type in open source projects Python and you'll find a lot of projects. Okay. So next step would be, after finding an org, next step would be selecting a project. Okay, decide which project you want to contribute to and work on. And once you've decided that, the next part comes, the biggest issue that everyone faces is understanding the code. So you have to understand the code base and get familiar with what is going on. Okay, and I will talk about that in a little bit, like how do you understand the code base, because it's so big. And as someone in the chat said, how to tackle such big code bases. We'll talk about that in a moment. But if we don't, just ask in the Q&A. Okay. I know only Java, but I face many problems regarding the open source bugs and a lot more. Yeah, everyone does, man. You will face issues and problems when you're working in open source projects. What is the question? Ask the questions towards the end. Okay, let's continue. So that's about how do you begin. Now, what are the steps to contribute to open source? Okay, so these are the steps. First, you have to determine the contribution, the feature or the bug, the issue that you want to solve, right? Next, you have to study the contribution guidelines of the target project. A lot of people make this mistake. They don't study the guidelines, like how do you contribute. A lot of times, the community, they require you to mention the steps to replicate the behavior of the issue or something like that, to add screenshot, to add some test cases and stuff like that. So make sure that you read the contribution guidelines, because most of the times, otherwise they will just not accept your pull request. It happens. So please be sure, please read those guidelines before you begin contributing. Next step is obtaining and building the project, which basically means downloading the project. Next is extracting the relevant code fragments, which means just go to the module that you want to work on. And next is adapting the code and integrating the desired changes. So that is basically, whatever changes you wanted to work on, just code those and inculcate those changes. And the next is providing the required test case document screenshots. Now, as I said in point number 2, a lot of times the communities, the organizations, they require to follow certain guidelines. Okay. So the guidelines may ask you to add some documents, some screenshots, some test cases. So please attach those when you're filing an issue in the 7th step. And then finally, submit the change, shoot a pull request. That's all literally, okay? It's nothing too complicated. Please don't be like, oh my God, open source, blah, blah, blah. It's super simple. Follow these steps and voila, there you have contributed, you made your first contribution in the open source world. Okay, again, we'll repeat these steps. First, you have to find an organization. And once you've found an organization, you have to select a project. Then you have to understand the code base. And then you have to follow these steps to contribute to that project. First, determine the contribution, the feature or the bug, the issue that you want to solve. Then study the contribution guidelines, get the project, work on it, inculcate the changes, do the bit of coding, and then attach all the requirements of those guidelines in that particular project, in that particular organization. And then you have to file an issue, so shoot a pull request, and that's your first contribution. Okay. I hope we're good, everyone. Everything is good. If you have any questions that are relevant to the slide that we are presently on, then feel free to ask, as we move. There's no need to wait till the end. What are we talking about? But in corporate life, iOS should be more valuable, I guess. I'm ready to do both if you will say. Oh, I remember you. I guess you contacted me on Instagram, maybe. What's else? Um, so I'm confused. Okay, hey, please ask the same question in the end. Okay, copy the question and ask me in the Q&A. I'll better answer your question at that time. Okay, let me just read the comments. What else is going on? Gosh, I need to get a haircut. Uh, mm, okay, everything is good. All right. So here are some open source programs. Now we've talked about what open source is, how you can contribute, how you find organizations, and now we'll talk about some open source programs. So these are, good for those people that don't want to dive into open source because of financial incentive thing, because you get paid a lot in these programs. So let's talk. First program, Google Summer of Code. Google Summer of Code is a 3 months program by Google. We'll talk about that in the next slide. So let me just read all the other names. Next is Outreachy. Then we have Girl Script Summer of Code. Then we have Open Mainframe Project Program. Then there's Red Hat Open Source Contest, Free Software Foundation, Bountiful Open Source Summer. Now this one is by Coding Blocks, and I guess it's currently going on, so you can check it out. Then there's Season of Docs. Season of Docs is like Google Summer of Code, but it's more about documentation. Okay, Season of docs documentation. I hope that makes sense. Then there's MLH Fellowship. Sorry, yeah, MLH Fellowship. I've made a spelling mistake, but that's okay. So MLH Fellowship is by MLH Major League Hacking, and I believe today is the last date of this program. So you guys might want to check it out. Okay, I'm not sure, but I saw it a few days back, and I believe 23rd was the last date. So it is today. So just make sure if it's still on, go apply for it. It's a wonderful, wonderful program by MLH. Okay. Next, we have Alibaba Summer of Code, and then we have Hacktoberfest, which happens in around October. And there are many more. There's so many programs, and all of them have the same idea. The crux behind all these programs, that is to just spread awareness about open source, to have more and more people come into this world and check it out and contribute to open source projects. The idea is same, but the structure of the programs is different. Generally, it's something like this. Let's talk about Google Summer of Code. Let me move to the next slide. Okay, so like Google Summer of Code, first you have to contribute. Then there's an application process where you submit a proposal. And then when you submit a proposal, then the results are announced. If your proposal is accepted, you work on that project for a time span of 3 months. Okay, so that's the rough structure of how all the programs go. For particular programs, you might want to go to their websites. And guys, I have this link to GitHub repository where you can find all these programs. In the description of the video, you'll find all these programs. So just go in the description, not now, after the session, and there's a link, open source programs. Click on that, you'll find a GitHub repository, and there you can check out all these programs, their deadlines, month-wise. Okay, I've just mentioned a few, as many as I could fit on this screen, but there are like 10 times more these numbers. So go check those programs out. Now, Google Summer of Code. So I'll share my experience. I worked in Google Summer of Code 2019 with this organization called Amahi. Okay. And I basically worked on their iOS project. So I'll tell you a bit about how it went. Okay. So first, I started contributing on 1st March. So you might think that you have to start 2-3 months in advance, but my first contribution to GSoC was on 1st March, and it wasn't a major contribution. Okay, I started on 1st March, and then I just applied for fun. I wasn't even serious about it, but I got in. Then I worked with Amahi for 3 months, and it was a wonderful, wonderful project, wonderful experience. And I totally suggest you guys that you go and check out Google Summer of Code. Vanshika, please ask the question during the Q&A. I'll better answer it. Okay. So yeah, that's it. That was my experience in Google Summer of Code, and I believe we've covered all the things. What's the time? 20 minutes done. Okay. I believe we've covered everything. Now, if you have any question related to open source programs, or open source, or how do you start contributing? Ask me now and I'll answer it. Let's go. Even if I don't have any early experience, can I apply for mentor? Yeah, you can. Why not? I mean, see, you do need to know like how this thing happens, open source world, how it works. Okay, because you're going to be mentoring someone, so you need to have a little bit of knowledge in this field, right? Okay. Let me just scroll up and see what else we've missed. Mm-mm. Okay, but still, please, bro, ask your question at the end. I'll answer it then. The first step to contributing. Don't think, go ahead and contribute. Learn on the way. Exactly, man. A lot of times we just think, how do I start doing this? The way you start is by actually starting it, okay? And how you get good at it? By doing it more often. By how do you become good at something? You just practice, practice, and practice. Same thing happens with Google Summer of Code. I mean, open source and anything related to open source. How to contribute in open source. Wait, we've covered that. So okay, do you want me to go back to the slides? Uh, how do you start? Okay, let's just cover that thing again. How do you contribute to open source? Let me go back. So here, first you find an organization, select a project, understand the code base. Are we good? Next, the steps to contribute are, first you decide what contribution you have to make, what bug or issue you want to solve, and study the contribution guidelines of the target project and obtain and build the project. That means download the project, and then you have to go to the module they want to work on, then just code whatever you have to do, whatever changes or issues you want to fix, and then add the required document screenshots or whatever things were mentioned in the guidelines, and just file an issue and submit a pull request. That is it. Is C language okay for contribution? C language, I mean, it depends, man. If the project is in C language, then yeah, it's okay. It's cool for contribution. Just dive into, look for projects in your field of interest. I'm repeating that. Okay. All right. I guess we're getting a lot of questions, and I believe I'm almost done with the slide with the topics that we wanted to cover for today. Again, the links to all these programs is in the description by the name Open Source Programs. It's a GitHub repository. Go check it out. Month-wise and deadlines, everything is given in that link. All right. Now I'll ask me, okay, first let me just share these points that you should keep in mind when you're working in the open source world, right? From my experience and from the experience of others, from people that I've talked to, these are some of the things. You missed my question, it's up. Bro, that's all right. Ask it again, bro. Copy paste. 1 minute, just wait for 1 minute. Let me cover these points and then we'll take all the questions. Okay. All right. So first point, introduce yourself in the community when you start. A lot of times people come out of nowhere and like a ghost, they just start contributing. But a good approach would be to first introduce yourself. Like, hi, my name is this, and I'm into this field, and I'm interested in contributing to this project, and then start contributing, right? Next point is read the guidelines very carefully. I've spent good 2-3 minutes on this point, so let's skip it. Next is, it is not a competition. Guys, listen to this carefully. Open source world is not a competition. Okay, it's not like you have to contribute before someone else does. It's not like that. It's a collaborative effort. So please don't take it like a competition as most of the times we do, right? It is not. Fourth point, ask for help if needed and help others. This is really important because see, if you're stuck at any place, as I said, open source is a collaborative effort. So there's a community. Okay. So ask for help whenever you feel like you're stuck. If it's basic, simple stuff, then what you can do is just Google or go to Stack Overflow. Okay. But if it's something that you think you really need help with and the community can help you, then feel free to ask. Don't be shy. Okay. And help others too. It's a collaborative effort. If you're going to be asking for help, you should help others too if you're good at something. That's the basic sort of moral thing that you should keep in mind. Next, be confident but not overconfident. This applies to all aspects of life, but in particular in the open source world, You are confident, cool, that is good, but don't be overconfident. Now what I mean by that is, let's say you're working on a project. If you have the skills, good, work on it, but don't take on a challenge. Don't send pull requests on something that you have no idea about. Okay, it's good that you are good at what you know, but please don't really think that you're the best, and don't try to mess it up, because there are a lot of times people just shoot meaningless pull requests that don't make any sense, that don't work, and so you have to be careful. Okay, next, keep an open mind. This is important. It's a community. People will tell their ideas, you will share your ideas, and you'll talk about how one feature should be implemented. So you have to keep an open mind, be welcoming to everyone's ideas. Okay, listen to what everyone else is saying and suggest your own ideas. Just don't be like, what I'm saying, that is the best thing, and we're going to go that way. It doesn't work like that. It's not a competition. Third point. Okay, next, seventh point, before contributing, make sure that someone else is not currently working on the same thing. A lot of times this happens in open source world. Let's say person A is working on something, person B comes in and out of nowhere works on that thing, shoots a pull request. Person A is like, dude, I was working on this. So please keep this in mind. There's this thing where you can see to whom the particular issue is assigned to, and if it is not, just talk it out in the community, right? Tell them that this is the issue and I'm currently working on this. I hope someone else is not working on it right now. Okay, it's a really good practice. You'll have a great experience if you don't mess up the seventh point. And the eighth point is enjoy. It's not a test. It's not a full-time job that you have to contribute every single day. So enjoy. Whenever you feel like it, contribute. And if you need help, ask for help. Help others. Learn new skills. Develop your skills. Test your skills. That's how it works. Okay. I hope that these points make sense. And all right, let's read a few comments. Or hang on, give me a minute. Let me read it. Do we need advanced knowledge program to contribute? Does documenting the open source also count as contribution? Yeah. So the questions that you guys asked us in the registration form, I have selected a few questions that I think will help most of you guys. So I'll answer those questions first, and then we can go ahead and answer the questions that you guys have. All cool? I hope everything is good. Okay. And all right, so let me go through those questions. So here's the slide. Let me read those questions that you guys asked in the registration form. Okay, where is it? Let me open it up. So the first question, I just completed C and C++, and I have a decent knowledge of JavaScript. What should I try in open source? I don't know what technology should I go for. I mean, web dev, cybersecurity, software, blah, blah. So please suggest something. I cannot decide. So here's my answer. If you cannot decide which field you should dive into, the only thing that you can do is explore all different fields. Like if you follow me, if you've seen my previous videos, then you know I was talking about how I tried all these fields, ML, AI, Android, web, all these different fields. I invested a good amount of money in each of the field. And that's when I was like, okay, iOS is something that clicks. iOS is something that I want to do, right? And then when I did iOS, then I realized I think I might dive into product management. Okay, so the only thing you can do is explore. So explore all these fields, spend a week or two just getting to learn a thing or two in all these different sort of fields: web dev, cybersecurity, software development, ML, AI. So check him out and go with the one that kind of makes sense to you the most. And it's not always like you'll have a clear idea. One day you'll wake up and you'll be like, God, ML is my thing. It doesn't happen like that. So explore it. Even if you feel like the field that you've dived into is not for you, it's okay. Get out of it. That's the basic idea. All right. Next question. Guys, I'm sorry I'm not reading your comments right now. Let me just cover those questions which you asked in the registration form. And Khushbu is helping you guys out. So thank you so much. Just ask her any question you have, but I'll take your questions in 3-4 minutes. Let me just cover the questions that you guys asked during the registration. So next question is, what all to look for in an open source project before making contributions? Okay, what's the best way to go through the open source code? Yeah, this question, let's talk about that. First, what all to look for in open source project? Guys, one thing I would suggest is just make sure that the community is active. Okay, please make sure that the community is active, because you'll dive into it, you'll work on your contributions, and a lot of times communities, the organizations, they don't treat your pull requests for months, so it's meaningless to contribute to such organizations. So make sure that the organizations are active that you want to contribute to. Next, what's the best way to go through open source code? So here's how you break down the big project. Okay, all these open source codes are can be horrifying. They are so complicated and they can be overwhelming at times. So what you can do is take it small, okay, module wise. So let's say you want to understand how an application is working. Let's talk about an Android app. So first start with the login screen, go to the login screen class and try to understand it. And then if there's any other module that is kind of dependent on that class, then go check that out. Okay, so just go with the flow of the software, go with the flow of the project, and that's how you'll connect all the dots. Take it small, break the whole project into fragments, and it happens that you won't understand what the heck is going on in the whole project. You don't have to. Like, let's say you want to work on one particular feature. A lot of times you don't need to have knowledge of the whole project, the idea of what's going on throughout the project. You just have to understand that particular class and how do you solve that particular issue. Okay, simple as that. That's how you break down the big source codes. Next, chances of cracking GSoC with C++ or front-end web dev only. You have good chances, bro. Why not? I mean, if the project is in C++ or if it requires you to be good at front-end web development, cool, then just go ahead and apply, right? And the approach that I would suggest you is if you're new, if you haven't done anything before, then start contributing in around November, December, or January. That is the best time when you can start contributing. Even though I started contributing in March itself, like my first contribution was on 1st March, but just to be safe, just to kind of, ensure your selection, please start as early as you can. That's what I would suggest. Next, do we need advanced knowledge in programming to contribute to open source? Do we need advanced knowledge in programming? No, you actually don't. You really don't. See, what I would say is you have to be confident enough to work to kind of face a source code of an open source organization. You don't have to be a professional. Like if you were a professional, you would be working at some company, right? A lot of times you just have to have basic knowledge and you have to be confident in that basic knowledge. Not overconfident, just confident. And if you're confident, then just check it out, right? There's another question. Someone asked, how do I know that I know enough to contribute to open source? You won't know, man. Like, what is the question? You won't know until you don't try. Okay, so until you don't contribute and check out for yourself. Like people say, how do I know if I have the skills to work with this organization? You won't know until you check out what the project is, what skills does it require. Okay, so dive into it. That's how you'll know. That's how you'll know where do you stand and what things you want to work on, what things you should work on. Okay. Next, does documenting the open source code also count as a contribution? Yeah, it does. If you're doing the documentation thing, that also counts as a contribution. But the coding part, that would be considered as a major contribution compared to, sending a pull request that's about documenting something, some feature. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you can relate to Google Summer of Code, the documentation related PRs, they aren't really that relevant, that important compared to the ones where you're actually solving an issue and doing some, working on a feature. That's more relevant. But yes, it does count as a contribution. So it could be a good place to start if you are understanding what the hell is going on in the code. You could start by just doing the basic things like documentation, stuff like that. How can someone earn money from contributing to open source? Open source is not about financial intensive, but if you do want to earn money, then go for the programs like Google Summer of Code, Outreach, and all the list that we had. Go for those programs. But if you're in it for money, please don't do it. There's so many other ways to make money. Open source is about working on a project in a collaborative environment in a community. So please let it be that. And if you want to make money, don't dive into open source. That's what I would suggest. You lose motivation, you won't want to work on it. So what's the point? Okay. All right. Next question. How do you choose the organization in Google Summer of Code? And what contributions did you make that added weightage to your proposal at GSoC? How do you choose organization? Guys, I have like 3-4 videos on how do you choose organization, how do you write proposal. So please make sure that you subscribe, okay, and check out those videos related to Google Summer of Code. I've covered everything, so check out those videos after the session. Right. Next question. Okay, what contributions I made that added weight to my proposal? So I think I made like 5 contributions, out of which only 2 were major contributions. Like 3 were like really, really simple issues. But the one thing that I think really added weightage to my proposal was I worked on this thing where I did the thumbnail preview something. Okay. So, thumbnails, right? In YouTube videos. So I had to fetch those thumbnails, cache them, and then add it to the table view, something like that. And that was actually one of the ideas to be worked on during Google Summer of Code. So that counted as a major contribution that I made. So I think that was that. And also I was really active in the community. I always say if you want to get selected in Google Summer of Code, just make sure your mentor knows who you are, remembers your name, and that's it. You'll get in. It's very easy, nothing too complex. Next, how to get internships if I'm really good at web dev? Simple, apply for internships. Period, nothing else. If you're really good at web dev, apply for internships. If you have any experiences, cool. Otherwise, work on your projects, build some good projects, and just apply. Don't wait for any perfect moment. There is no perfect golden time, golden opportunity. Just apply if you feel like you want to do an internship. Next, how to understand a project. We've done that. How to sustain the motivation. Just remember your why. As I said, Simon's book, Start with Why. Focus on why when you begin something over how or what. Don't think about the process. Don't think about the product. Okay, think about why you're starting it in the first place. Right? And there's so many questions, guys. I think I should just take your questions. There's so many questions, like 50 more questions. So let's keep those. Now ask any questions that you have. I'm sorry I had you wait for so long. I told you guys ask me in the end. Now is the time. Please ask any questions. So first, let's begin with this question. Okay. How to start contributing in GSoC organization without being the part of program? I'm not able to find the GitHub repo in the GSoC site. Come on, like when you open the GSoC website, just go to the organization and there should be a link. Click on that, you'll find the GitHub repo. Or just use that organization's name in Google search and type in that organization and GitHub. And I think maybe what you're saying is you cannot find GitHub repo because maybe they are not on GitHub. Maybe they're using GitLab, right? Or Gitbucket. So maybe that's why. Okay, next question. Hey Abhishek, you said keep exploring. What if the exploration process takes too long? Sometimes it isn't easy for that one thing to click. I know it's not easy. I did iOS for a few months. Now I'm into product management. So, it's not about finding that one thing that clicks. It's about eliminating out things that are not that one thing to click. As I always say, not knowing what you want to do is better than doing something that you don't want to do. Okay, so find those things that you don't want to do, put them aside and keep exploring. That's how it is. It will never happen that one thing will click. Like when you were born, this passion was triggered. Okay, this person has to do that particular thing in life. It's not like that. So, keep exploring, let it take time. I'm sorry, I got a call. Okay, so yeah, let it take time. Don't worry. It is a long process. Life is a journey. Okay, it's not a marathon. But what you can do is, while you're exploring things, the particular thing that, according to you, is that one thing that clicks, work on that a little more. Maybe it is, right? So whatever the thing is that makes you feel more fulfilled and makes you feel like, okay, I could do this my whole life, go and do that more often. I hope that answers. That was a rough answer to the question. What if I'm good in competitive programming? Should I contribute to communities of code forces or Stack Overflow or start from scratch in open source contribution? You can do both. If you're good at competitive programming, one, obviously stay in touch with everything that's on code forces and all these websites, answer questions on Stack Overflow. And if you want to start contributing to open source, you don't have to choose one thing out of these. Do all of them. Okay, set your priorities, do one thing, then do next. Take it that way. Okay, I'll be graduating in July this year, but my ID card mentions valid till 2021. It's not a mistake. It's with all students. Okay, so if you're graduating in July 2020 and your ID card mentions 2021, it is a mistake, but it's a mistake that all the students are now facing. I mean, they have to, deal with it. So can I apply to GSoC next year? It's a valid document. I mean, you can, because they won't really, call your college and ask them, hey, is this guy studying here? But I don't think you should, because since you're graduating this year, I believe you'll be looking for full-time opportunities. So it wouldn't make sense to really, try GSoC next year. That's my opinion, because you'll be working full-time and managing that with, this open source GSoC world. That's going to be really tough, and you might end up screwing both of them. So I would suggest not to. But if you really want to, then no one's stopping you. Amahi uses Golang, Ruby on Rails, Android, iOS containers. Would like to know where you started. So I worked on iOS. Now Amahi uses all these different technologies, different languages. I used to code in Swift, so I worked on the iOS project, and that's it. I coded in Swift for 3 months. I wrote over 3,000 lines of code, and I implemented 8 new features. Okay, next question. Praveen Kumar, I'm sorry, I see you asked this question a lot of times above, and I said ask it later. But okay, is it tough to get selected as a mentor in GSoC? I've tried a couple of times for the past years, but I couldn't get selected. I don't think it's that tough. I mean, I've seen first, second year students becoming mentor in GSoC. It isn't tough. But yes, if you've been active in the organization, like even as a mentor, please be in the community. Okay, be active. Help those mentees, help those students, and maybe even review the code of others, review the pull requests of other people. So I think these are some of the things that can really help you get selected as a mentor. Okay. Next question. All Pune University students are considered students for the next 1 year after graduation, because we get our degree a year after. That is really weird, but okay. I mean, if you're officially considered as a student, then sure, you can try GSoC if you're not doing anything full time, because you will have to work 30 to 40 hours per week. So I need you to be really, be focused on Google Summer of Code project. So if you have time, go ahead, apply for it. But Rohit, I would suggest you apply for a mentor position, because if you're graduating, you might have all the skills. So I think it would really make sense to be a mentor, and you don't need to be a student to be a mentor in an organization. I think so. Okay, Bhaiya, should I learn Flutter or Swift? Vatsal, finally your questions. If you want to do native, learn Swift. If you want to do cross-platform, learn Flutter. What more do I say? It's your choice to make. Like, think about it. For me, if I talk about my choice, I would always go for Swift, because I really like and believe in the power of native applications. But if you'd like to try Flutter, then go with it. But generally, it would be a good approach to be good with one of the native languages, be it Android, be it iOS, and then move on to React Native or Flutter. That's what I think. But it's your choice to make. If you want to dive into Flutter right away, go do it. No one's stopping you. Okay. All right. Next question. Could I still participate in GSoC though the registrations are over? If no, then how and when can I do so? Vanshika, no, you cannot participate in GSoC now, because the application process, I guess it closed in May. I'm sorry, May is right now. It closed in March, and the organizations, the projects have been announced. So no, you cannot participate now, but you can participate in Google Summer of Code 2021. That is the next year. And how you should prepare for it, when you should start contributing, I have videos on all such topics on my channel. So please subscribe and check those videos out, because I don't want to take too much of your time talking about Google Summer of Code and stuff like that. Okay, next question. I'm sorry, I missed some questions. Let me see, where are we? Mm-mm-mm. Your thought about my thought about Ja. What is Ja? Which is better, Flutter or Swift? It's not about better, bro. It's like which which language, which technology, which basically, yeah, which language do you fancy more? And Flutter is the technology, Dart is the language. So do you like Dart or Swift? It's your choice. It's your decision. I like Swift better. There are so many people that like Flutter better. So it's your choice. Just what you can do is check out both of them. Okay. Give a week or two, or maybe it's, since they are basic languages, give 2 3 days or even one day to each and see which one um, really feels like, okay, I should do this. All right. Next question. See, the major doubt I have is there are few organizations when we know the tech tech stack, but the project is not interesting. So should we contribute to interesting projects or the ones which tech we know? Um, See, don't contribute to projects that don't feel like that you don't find interesting. Why? Because you'll have to spend 3 months. If this is GSoC related, you'll have to spend 3 months contributing to that project. It's going to be really tough to stick to that boring project, boring to you, that project for that long of a time period. So I would suggest, if there is some project that you find really interesting, and if you don't have the skills for it, that's fine. Mention in your proposal that I'll work on these skills for a week or two, and then I'll work on this feature. Okay, so go for the interesting projects, and you'll develop your skills. If you don't know a few technologies, a few languages, you learn those. So why not go for those projects? Okay. All right. Next questions. Next question. Mm, oh, we're talking about business. I'm working on a project, but not able to launch it because of no investor. Where can I get investors for my projects? Go to VCs. You have to pitch your project. Wait, what was the question again? I'm working on a project, but not able to launch it because of no investors. Well, do you really need investors to launch a project or a product? I don't think you do. How do you got, okay, the same guy is asking this question, how, since you're an entrepreneur, how you got investment for your project? I haven't taken a single penny from any investor till date. Okay, and in fact, I've gotten investment offers which were like of around 150K, 100K, 70K, but I didn't take any investments because I don't need money. So it depends on how your business model works. It depends on your business. If you do need money and if your project is good enough, just pitch it to VCs, pitch it to angel investors, and if it's good enough, you'll find investors. It's not big of a deal. But try to make your business, try to build your business to minimize all the costs, right? But that's entrepreneurship related. Next, move on to the tech question. I messed up while dealing with projects, but I come back every time way around, and same happens. How to make things look easier and systematic while working with open source? See, this question sounds like when you're just starting out, what's the best kind of contributions to make? Because if you know what contributions to make, you're gonna be good. You're gonna make them, right? And you're gonna be good with them. You're gonna be motivated. So what I would suggest is, when you're beginning, try solving easy issues. Try fixing easy bugs and issues. Why? Because see, in communities, in organizations, all the experienced guys, they don't care about small issues. A lot of times, the newbies, the freshers, they can work on them. Okay, almost all the projects have such issues which are really really small, 1 2 lines of code missing. So start with them, start solving easy ones, and then increment the level of difficulty. That's what I would say. Please explain a bit more about boss. I actually don't know the details of this program. So what I would suggest you is go to their website, Google search, and go to their website and check it out. I'm not the best person to talk about that. Okay. Yeah, it's by Coding Blocks. Next question. Why Force Asia wasn't in this year's GSoC? Didn't they apply or they got selected? What do you think? Really? It's not in this year's organization? Wow, that's weird. Because they're almost in every year. They participate every year. But I don't know, man. Maybe they just decided not to participate, because if they did, then obviously Google would select them. It's a big organization. I'm not really sure. You might wanna go to Force Asia and talk to the community. Okay. For contributing Dart in GSoC, Flutter will be sufficient? I think your question should be, for contributing to a project in Flutter, will skills in Dart be sufficient? So the answer is yes, but also if you know Dart, you should have developed some Flutter applications. Only then you'll be able to contribute to an application that's open source. Okay, so please build your own projects, and yeah, that's all. Any other questions? What's the time? Oh my goodness, it's been 50 minutes. Wow, good. Okay, I hope things make sense, guys. If you do have any questions, then please ask right now. Anything related to open source or your career, we're open to anything. So, okay, this question. I have little experience in web development. I want to start contributing to open source projects now to enhance my skills. How can I find some beginner level projects now? Google search. How else can you find the projects? Or see, if you know anyone that's in web development that works in open source world, reach out to them and ask them, is this the right organization to begin with? Okay, so that's something that you can do. But yeah, Google search and try to solve the basic issues. And it's good that you want to start now to enhance your skills. That's a good way to, that's a good why to begin with. It's really good. Okay. uh Great session. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Will I be treated as development peer if I contribute to open source projects? I didn't get the question. Can you rephrase it? Awesome session. Thank you. Okay, so guys, since we've collaborated with Progate in this today's webinar, thank you so much to Kushbu and to Progate for setting it up, for making it possible. So let's check out Progate. Okay, let me just share with you guys the screen, and just give me a minute. Okay, 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Please don't leave. Just stick around for 2 or 3 more minutes, and then you can go. Okay, hang on. Give me 1 minute. Sharing screen. Here it is. Okay, I hope you guys can see it. Yeah, you do. Okay, let me just take this question. Abhishek, do you do freelancing? No, I don't do freelancing. Well, in a way, you can think of it like my company does freelancing, but ask that question on Instagram. This is not the right place. Okay. All right. So, guys, this is the website, www.progate.com. Check them out if you want to develop your skills in programming field. Okay, they're amazing guys. They have like 1400. There's like 1,400,000. 14 lakh, sorry, 14 lakh users. They're active in 100 plus countries, and it's a pretty cool website, pretty cool platform. So check it out. As you can see, they have a good UI and everything. And okay, let's check out some of their courses. Man, I've heard about Progate for a while. Like, it's really popping these days. So I would highly suggest, if you guys wanna, develop your skills, so please check it out. Check it out, this platform, and go learn something. So see, web development, and there's all these different courses: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Ruby on Rails, PHP, Java, Git, SQL, and Node.js, React, Go. So almost everything you would need in the tech space. Just go check these out. Okay, as you can see, let's see Git project. Let's see the lesson details. Oh man, I love this platform. Look, as you can see, all these different things. Amazing platform, guys. Do check it out. The link is in the description. The first link should be to www.progate.com. Okay, check him out, and I believe you guys will get something, some 2 3 days Git course for free or something like that. Yeah, Khushbu can tell you more about it in the chat. Okay, is there any other question? I'm in third year now. I don't have any projects. Okay, let's take that question now. Great session, great session. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you subscribe. I'm repeating it because I'm going to put out so much good content in the upcoming days, and I wouldn't want you guys to miss it. Okay, make sure you subscribe and make sure that you follow me on Instagram at iSwiftShake. Check out Progate, great platform, good stuff. And now let me just go back to the slide. Give me 1 second. I'll share the slide. Just give me 1 minute. Yes, the first lesson of all courses is free. See, guys, of all the courses, the first lesson is free. So you can check it out, try it out. And if you like it, you can go for the paid subscription. You know, it's a great platform. So, yeah. Okay. Here you go. So I guess we've taken all the questions. One question is left. Let me see. I'm pursuing BTech CSC. I'm in third year now. I don't have any projects which can add value to my resume. Does contributing in open source add value? It definitely does. See, if you don't have any projects, take it this way. If you don't have any projects of your own and you're contributing to open source, you can actually mention that big project. And when during the interview they ask what was your contribution, then you can talk about the small contributions you made. So it's kind of a hack too, to add value to your resume. So definitely open source will help you develop your skills, add value to your resume. And as I said, the second point, it'll help you further your career. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions? I guess we should. That's it. Any other questions, guys? If you do have some questions that we couldn't answer today, you can ask me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram anytime. Okay, reach out to Khushbu if you need help or anything. And I guess that's all. All right. Thank you so much for attending today's session. It means a lot. Instead of Netflix and chilling, you guys are here listening to me talk about some stuff. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Okay, another question. Right. What all skills should we know to and till which level before starting to contribute? You should know all the skills that you need to work on the project that you want to work on in the field that you're interested in. I'll repeat, you need the skills that you should know to work on the projects in the field that you are interested in. So that is something that you will have to see for yourself. And till what level? Till the level when you're confident enough in the basics, and if you've developed a project or two of your own. You don't have to be a pro coder, okay, a pro programmer or anything. If you're good with basics, if you've worked on a few projects, then definitely start contributing. Okay. And before even starting to contribute, just try understanding the project. They will help you a lot. And if you feel like, okay, wow, this project makes sense, then you can start contributing. Okay. Can you repeat point over the previous blockchain question I had? I'm sorry, I didn't see any blockchain question. Hey, hit me up on Instagram about blockchain question, because I believe you're the only person into blockchain. So yeah, guys, let's wrap it up. That's all. Thank you again for being with us in this session. May the source be with you. And thank you, Progate. Thank you, Khushbu, for organizing this session. It was amazing spending time talking to you guys. And I'll catch you sometime in the future. All right, take care. Check out the link. And all the links are in the description. Thank you so much. And stay safe, you guys. Bye. I'll catch you later.